Ready to trade your exhaustion for expansion? Well, then you've come to the right place because today I have the extraordinary pleasure of inviting Benita Williams to join us today to explore restorative overflow. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today for this episode of Awaken and Ascend. I'm also excited to introduce you to our special guest, Benita. She is known as the self-care surgeon and kingdom business strategist who's guiding faith-driven entrepreneurs, executives, and changemakers to shift from that performance-driven living into sacred stewardship and divine flow, encouraging us to create impact from a place of rest, wisdom, and abundance. Benita, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on Awaken and Ascend. I love your approach and where you're coming from.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It is a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
your background too, Benita, about the sustainable CEO,
Yeah,
because I mean,
great.
burnout, compassion fatigue, all of that is a real thing, especially when we haven't been fully living our potential or in alignment with our values and our truth. And we're, performance driven and focused on success and strategy and kind of lost sight of
Yes,
our real why and our purpose and our energy as well.
absolutely.
So, really grateful that you're here to bring us back into restorative overflow. But I'm really curious, Benita, about what actually set you on this path. What illuminated this was the direction you needed to go in your business,
Mm,
in your life?
yes, great question. Thank you so much. I'll just start with a little backstory, if you will. I come out of the nonprofit world, human service provider for a number of years. I believe you did as well. So
Social services. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
So you know the type of work that we do. We're always people driven. It's always about, servicing others. And so when you're in that background and in that environment, it's quite easy to forget about yourself. It's quite easy to put yourself on the back burner because you're caring so much for other people, the needs of other people. Human service work, is something that's near and dear to my heart. I kind of fell into it by accident, but of course I say nothing was an accident or coincidence. It just kind of started me on the path. But what I realized is that, in the process of doing it, I don't know how long you were in the field, but I was in it for over 20 some years.
Same.
And okay, so after doing that for so long, you realize that you end up, burning the candle at both ends.
Mm.
You end up taking work home with you. You wake up with it on your mind. You go to bed with it on your mind. And so what happened for me is that I essentially just burn out, and that was a term that I wasn't familiar with before. It's a word that we throw around casually in society, but
Hmm.
we didn't really have the meaning and understanding of what burnout really, really is. And so until I experienced it for myself firsthand. And I'll never forget, it was in 2014, and I basically just hit a wall. I was getting ready for work and getting ready to go on a business retreat, actually, interestingly enough, and realized that, I was having some health challenges. And one of my coworkers actually pointed it out to me. She was like, you don't look like you're feeling too well today. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, everything is good. Everything is fine. And she's like, no, I don't think so. And so I sat down at my desk and I looked in the mirror, took a mirror, look at myself and realized that my face was actually drooping on one side
Oh.
and did not realize that. Didn't feel anything, didn't know that I was, having any complications or whatever, but I immediately had to be rushed to the hospital, and found out that I was, of course, due to burnout, stress, anxiety, all the things that I did not know about, that I was having a medical crisis. And I needed to be treated right away. And that, Jennifer, began the journey.
Hmm.
The journey of self-care, to know what self-care really is all about, the journey of healing, inner healing, just learning, what is this path that I'm on? What is this journey that I'm on? And what is this self-healing all about? And then for me, it was about, okay, I'm going through this, but how many other people are going through it as well? And are they suffering in silence? Do they
Hmm.
have a lifeline? Is there any way or anyone that they can actually speak to and reach out to? And so that's really what began my work. It was really just me being passionate about, first of all, what is this happening to me and how do I navigate this dark path of change? And knowing that I can't do life the way that I was doing it before. If I
Yeah.
really want to be here, if I really want to show up for my family, for my friends, for my loved ones, for my work, that I needed to change some things in my own life. And what I discovered is that self-care is not selfish, it's actually selfless, because we
Mm.
want to give our best selves to our family, to our friends, to our coworkers, whomever. And so from that journey, it has led me here now today, talking to you about restorative overflow. It's more than self-care. It's really coming from a place of surrender. You
Mm.
know, I was used to the performance method. I was used to, working hard. I was used to, the early bird catches the worm, all the cliches, all the things that we're taught in society. If we want to get ahead in life and we want to be successful. But what I didn't realize is that success does not have to come at the cost of, my health and my well-being and my family time and all the things that make me, happy and joyful and things like that, all the things that I have gratitude for. So I needed to find out, really how do I again chart this new path of change, and what does that look like for me? And for everybody it's different, it really is, but I believe that there are some core components, some key components, no matter what journey, what path you're on. There are some key core components
Mm.
for everyone, for all of us, that are the same throughout. And so that's where restorative overflow comes in at. So
Oh, wow. Thank goodness.
yeah.
Thank goodness you discovered this for yourself,
Yes,
to turn that droop into joy again, into
yes.
a smile, into strength, right? Right in your face that you can see that. And look at this gorgeous smile that you're able to show us today. And it's so true, Benita. Something you said that was really important is the
Mhm.
suffering in silence.
Yes.
Recent guests on Awaken and Ascend have really been focusing in, honing in on that as well, which I so appreciate because there are so many of us that are suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Many of us are afraid to say we're feeling the way that we're feeling for appearing incompetent or that we, can't do something like we have a reputation to protect or a certain persona that we're trying to project that performance,
Yeah.
and the pressure that comes along with that too. And it's painful. It's
It is.
physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually painful. And we don't need to suffer in that way anymore. And so I'm so grateful that you and others are talking about this more and more. And when you talked about the candle burning on both ends, it made me think about what are those two ends really? Like,
Hmm.
especially for change makers and CEOs and so on that are drawn to this kind of work, that sacred
Yeah.
stewardship,
Yeah.
knowing that we're here to service a higher purpose, if you will,
Yes.
that there's like one end of the candle that might be about people pleasing, and there's
Yes.
another part of the candle that's about being in service
Yes.
to that higher power and giving ourselves over to that. So where does that line get drawn, and where do we discover
Hmm.
where we are in that
Yeah.
and be able to say, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just
Exactly.
pause for a moment. Where am I being driven from? What kind of impact am I really having on myself,
Absolutely.
my family, my clients, all of those things? So where
Yeah.
is that intersection of being in service, people pleasing, making
Hmm.
people happy,
Yes.
and making sure that we're sustaining our energy and passion and drive as well?
Very good. Great question. And I love the way that you framed it. We're sustaining, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the key. That's the key there. So again, if I could just go back a little bit on my story.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really a journey. Like you said, it's a journey to self-discovery. It's really about discovering, who we are, and what our purpose is, everything from our leadership to our legacy, right? And so
Yes.
for me, what I had to really understand is that the change was necessary. The change was a part of the journey, it was a part of the path to becoming, a part of the path to being. And so what I realize is that when something happens in your life, it is there for a reason. There's nothing wasted. It's always there for a reason. So good or bad, it's there to give you awareness that you did not have before. And so what I discovered is that the change was necessary. I actually left that position, that job, and came into what I believe now is my calling, is my purpose, and it's all connected. It's not like I totally dropped one thing for something else. It's just a continuum. It's just
Mm.
at another level.
Hmm.
It's at a higher level, a deeper level, if that makes sense. So I'm
Hmm.
still serving. I'm still passionate about people, helping others. I'm just doing it in another way, in an elevated way now. And so that's what you've got to realize is that when life happens, when things happen, it's there to push you forward, to propel you forward, to awaken you, to bring you into an awareness that there's more,
Mm.
that literally wherever you are, maybe you burned out at that end of the candlestick, but there's another end, right? Like you said, and that end is burning towards, your purpose and your passion, and just revealing more about who you are and what it
Mm.
is that you have to give to the world, to others. And so I learned so much about myself in this process of change. And now it's like you go from that end of, people pleasing, performance and things like that to what I like to call stewardship.
Hmm.
What I like to call stewardship. Realizing that, and this is for my leaders, especially my CEOs and my entrepreneur business people, learning that, we're really not in control of anything,
Mm.
right? We're here to really steward what we have, what we've been given, whether that's your time, your energy, your finances, your family, your business, your talents, your skills, whatever it is that you've been given, you're here to steward well what you've been given. And that's where the sustainability comes in at, I believe, is that
Mm.
when we learn how to steward well, then we can sustain in all of those areas. We really can. So for me, it started out with self-care, but it's so much more than that. It has
Mm.
truly evolved now into what I call restorative overflow.
Mm.
So the key to it is to not feel like you have to trade one thing for the other.
Mm.
It's more about, okay, this is the next phase, or this is the next part of it. This is the next step. This is something that I'm evolving into, right? This is something I'm expanding. We talked about going from exhaustion to expansion.
Yes.
This is
Hmm.
this is how I'm further expanding what it is that I've been given to do, and what it is I've been given to steward. And so that's the way I like to look at it.
I love that. And
Yeah.
they're all growth experiences, right?
Yes.
They're all growth experiences.
Yes.
And the support that we get through that to shift from the exhaustion
Hmm.
into expansion and
Yes.
becoming more of who we are.
Yes.
And yes, and being able to steward and expand in our capacity to hold it all. Like you say, not having to trade one for the other.
Mhm.
And I love that you moved from your career to your calling, because that's the crux of my work, is right, is
Yes.
meeting people at that intersection from career to calling. And
Absolutely.
to steward the alignment from one's higher self and their
Hmm.
sacred legacy, right?
Yes.
So that we can extend and elevate humanity and leadership in a whole other level, and being driven, sustained by our passion. And the way I
Hmm.
see passion is that when you break up the word, it's pass I on.
Hmm.
And that I is your soul's expression of what
Yeah.
you're here to pass on in this lifetime, to steward, as you
Mhm.
say, Benita. And so that restorative overflow sounds like your I, what you're here to pass
Yes.
on in this lifetime. So, are there steps to that? Like, how do we get into that? How do we tune in and step into and embody that restorative overflow, not
Yes.
just for sustainability, but for momentum as well, so we can
Absolutely.
continue to expand and others that we serve are expanding, and we all grow and elevate.
Hmm.
So, I'm excited to
Hmm.
hear how we get
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
that.
And it's going to sound really, really simple, because it is,
Mhm.
but it's not always easy, but it's really simple. It's not always easy. And there is definitely a process. There's a step. And this is what I call, I believe this is, sort of like the universal foundation, if you will. I believe it speaks to whoever you are, wherever you are on your path and your journey. I just believe these are just the foundational pieces and parts that help you to tap into restorative overflow. And I believe that at every single level of this, and every single, I would say, process of this is applicable no matter where you are.
Huh.
Okay. And so I just wanted to preface that. But it begins with a simple word, and that is posture. posture.
Hmm.
I write in the book, The Sustainable CEO, I talk about the divine overflow, what I call the divine overflow sequence. It is a sequence, a process, if you will. But number one in that sequence is posture. And we're not necessarily talking about a physical posture, but we're talking about a heart posture, a heart posture. In order to go from performance to stewardship, from control to surrender, if you will, you have to have a heart posture of surrender, a heart posture of surrender. And what do I mean by that? So, um, physically we go through things in life. We deal with, like, I was telling you about my medical crises that I had, and there were some physical signs that there were some things going on that weren't, I was not in alignment with, my true self, my highest, my best self. And it was showing physically. Okay. Well, also internally, that's the same thing. Whatever was going on physically was also happening internally for me as well. So a lot of times the physical manifestation of things just simply means that there's a deeper internal thing that needs to be dealt with as well. And so for me, it really began with spiritual, what I call spiritual alignment, just being totally surrendered to spiritual alignment and getting that heart posture right. And I like to use, an analogy. Think about it like a flower that's growing, right? A flower is not necessarily striving to grow. Think about that. A flower doesn't have to strive to grow. It literally just yields itself to the source of light, right? To the source of light that helps it to grow and develop and things and gives it everything that it needs to grow, the energy, the nutrients, whatever it needs to grow. So it's just yielding itself to that. And so if we think about ourselves as that flower, we don't have to strive to be anything. We don't have to strive to be successful. We don't have to strive to be a good leader. We don't have to strive to, work and provide for our families and things like that. We don't have to strive to do that. We just need to really just yield ourselves, or, what I call bend ourselves in the posture, in the heart posture of surrender to the source, to the light, the one that gives us all the things that we need in order to be successful. So if you think about that externally and internally, we're doing the same thing, right? So that's really what it's all about. And that first step is just your heart alignment. And you do that through surrendering your heart posture to the one, the giver of all light and source, the giver of all of that. And so that's, if you think about it in that way, then you're really not striving to do that. You're just yielding to that and getting in alignment.
Yeah, the first step into allowing ourselves to truly thrive. But I love that surrender because to
Yeah.
me, Benita, it sounds like that already frees up so much energy and life force because there's no more of that efforting, right? There's no more
Exactly.
of that striving. When we surrender, we're already freeing up our
Yes.
limitless energy. We know that it's unlimited. So
Yes.
burnout doesn't even really make sense when
It
we
cannot,
think of
it
it
will
that
not,
way.
right. It will not survive in that state,
Yeah.
right? Think about that.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I can see how that the spiritual ties in significantly because when I used to work with people through the path of integrated energy therapy, we
Hmm.
would talk about, that spiritual layer
Yeah.
where everything enters in through there first and then mental, emotional, and then becomes physical when it's
Yeah.
blocked in one of the other layers. And so the way to kind of reverse the effects, if you will, is that spiritual connection, that conscious connection, and that surrender must
That's,
always come first, right? We forget,
that's
we
that.
think that we have all that control. And that's where the performance and the whole ego steps in and blocks
Absolutely.
our natural flow. And so, what
Mhm.
comes after surrender, Benita?
So the second step to this process is actually provision. It's actually provision. That's interesting. That's interesting because we work to provide. Think about that. We work to provide, right? We work to provide for our families. We work to provide for our business partners. We work to provide. It's always about, working to provide. But when you surrender, what comes naturally after that is actually provision. And you realize you don't necessarily have to work in order to get this provision. You just have to be in a heart posture of surrender. And by doing that, you are supernaturally provided for. think about it, it's just like going back to that the flower analogy, right? The flower is not necessarily providing anything for itself. It's not providing anything, but it's given everything. So what that really tells us is when we are surrendered, then what happens is we're in a posture to receive, or position, what I call to receive everything we need in order, everything that we need in order to thrive, not really survive, but thrive. And when you think about that, the provision is given to us. It's not something that we have to work and struggle. And that is a mental shift. That really is. Because performance tells us that we have to work for everything and that we got to strive for everything, you know. But in this dynamic of restorative overflow, no, you don't. All you have to do is surrender and realize that you're in a posture, in a position to receive. Earth will yield its good to you, you know. The earth will yield its good to you when you're in that posture of receiving. So it's really about learning how to receive rather than feel like you have to work to make things happen. And that is the second step there.
Yeah, I love that. And what it brings up for me actually is it's
Yeah.
making me think of a book I had picked up at a recent, giveaway sale thing,
Okay.
called about repotting yourself. Repot-
Interesting.
and it talks about being root bound.
Yeah.
And it made me think of, sometimes careers or relationships or certain conditions, circumstances,
Mhm.
environment keep us root bound. They're no longer a fit for us to be able
Yep.
to grow and expand. And it sucks the life out of us,
Yes, it
literally,
does. Yes. Yes.
right? And so when we're yielding, do we need to be yielding in the right kind of conditions, or is it through the yielding that the right conditions present itself? I'm curious about
Very
that.
good. Very good
Mm,
question. It's actually in the yielding. It's actually
okay,
in the yielding. Yes.
beautiful.
When you're in the yielding, again, there's no striving. So the plant, the pot doesn't have to repot itself, doesn't have to doesn't have to re-soil itself, you know.
Uh-huh.
When you're in the right environment, when you're in the right alignment, when you're in the right, oh my goodness, when you're in the right alignment, hear that. You're in the right alignment, when you're in the right posture and position, then these are added benefits in that environment. You will thrive, you will grow, you will sustain, you will have, if I could put it in business sense, you will have clarity of thought, right?
Hmm.
You will have the energy to go the next mile. You will know what your next steps are, okay?
Hmm.
You'll make those right business connections and decisions. Those things will be provided for you
Love
when
it.
you are in proper alignment. Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
lotus in the mud, right?
Yes, exactly,
It doesn't matter
exactly. It's
so
a good
much.
one.
It's about,
Yeah,
yeah, what
yeah.
what seeds have been planted inside
Exactly.
you.
Yes, it's all, and
Mm,
there you go. You just said it. Because what is it doing? It's coming from an internal awareness.
mm.
That's what it's doing. It's coming from your inner knowing, your inner being. Yes. And when that is awakened, then everything else will flourish from that. So absolutely.
Yeah. And are there more
Yeah.
steps, or is that all we have to do? Surrender and
No,
yield.
no, actually, that's just the beginning.
That's just the
That's just
beginning.
the
That's laying
beginning.
the
That's just the beginning.
foundation. Yeah,
Absolutely
making
laying
that
the
shift.
foundation.
Hmm.
Yes. And so after that, what I talk about is prophetic insight. I call it prophetic insight because what this is, again, is like an internal knowing. It's like, I know what to do next. Like I know what my next steps are. I'm getting this divine connection. I'm getting this divine revelation, what I call revelation knowledge. It's something that's revealed to me. So
Yeah.
it's not something that's automatically known or something that you read in a book. It's actually something that's kind of like it's downloaded. It comes to you in that
Hmm.
regard. And so you'll know exactly what your next steps are. How cool is that? You'll
I
know
love that.
exactly what to do next.
I
I
love
mean,
that and live that. Yes.
yes, without question, you'll know
Yeah.
exactly because you're getting these divine directives, and this just kind of like, you know what? I know the book says do it like this, or I know, our financial statement looks like that, but you know what? Something is telling me I need to go in this direction, or something is pulling me over here to do this. So it's that quickening, it's that knowing internally, because now everything is in alignment. And when you're in alignment, your path opens up. The road is revealed. There's the next step is available for you. You get to see what that next step is and what it looks like, and you'll know exactly what to do next. And so, and a lot of faith-driven leaders, I want to speak to them specifically because
Mhm.
this is where a lot of us, we get into that performance mode. Why? Because, well, statistics say this, or data drives that, or,
Mhm.
we're used to doing it this way, whatever the case. But when you have divine intuition, when you get that inner knowing that, you know what, no matter what the data says, no matter what the economy looks like right now, no matter what we need to move like this.
Mhm.
We need to do this or do that. That's where that prophetic insight is very valuable. And you see that it'll save you a lot in the long run. It'll save you a lot. So yeah.
I love that. And
Yeah.
creating space for that. It's like, wait for it,
Yep.
divine directives.
Exactly.
And
Oh,
then you move. Yeah.
it is. It's in the pause. It is. It's in that
Yeah.
pause. It's
Hmm.
in that quiet space. It's in the pause. Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. So very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loving
And
this,
so
loving the flow of this. And so
yeah,
this is the flow. This is the restorative
this
overflow
is the
right here, is what
yes.
you're providing for us right now.
Yes, what I'm
Okay.
providing for you. Yeah, and the next step to that is really all about understanding patterns.
Mm.
There are patterns in life that drive our lives, right? Really, and there are patterns that we may not even be aware of. But if you really peel back the layers, you can kind of see sequences of
Hmm.
things happening throughout your life, and it kind of seems like certain things are repetitive or on repeat, or things that you've gone through before. It may not be totally 100% the same as before, but there's enough about it to let this is familiar to me. Like
Hmm.
I've done this
You've
before.
been here before. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been here before. I kind of have picked up on something. And what those patterns are designed to do is really to show us how we need to be looking at, the different sequences that we go through in our lives.
Hmm.
We think about when we relocate, or when we take a new job, or when we, um, do something that, we just feel compelled to do. And you look back at it and you say, you know what? But 5 years ago, it was like this. Or 3 years ago, I had to do the same thing. What are the patterns in life teaching
Which
us?
offers
What are the
us,
patterns in life
yeah.
trying to show us? You know, um, Exactly. Yeah. And so we need to be aware of the patterns. The patterns are there to show us and give us directive, to give us insight as to how, is this time to make this right move, or is it time to do this or time to do that? If you get into the rhythm, what I call the rhythm of
Hmm.
flow,
Hmm.
into the pattern, the rhythm of flow, then you'll see the ebbs and flows. You'll know when there's time. I like to quote scripture where it says there's a time to sow and there's a time to reap. There's a time for this. Everything has a time. It has a season and a time into it. Well, you think about it, that's really about the rhythm of your life. It's
Hmm.
about the rhythms, the way that things flow in and out and through your life. And then when you can get into alignment with that, and you can understand that there is a rhythm to all of this, then you will be much more successful. You'll be much more intuitive to know when certain seasons are changing, certain things are changing, and you'll know how to go with the ebb and flows of life.
And
Yeah.
that's when the prosperity and the abundance also flow in,
Talk
right?
about it.
Yes.
Talk about it. Yeah, because there'll
Yeah.
be times when you plant, and then there'll be times when you harvest. There'll
Mhm.
be times when you give, and then times when you receive. It's everything is, if there's a up, there's a down. If there's a left, there's a right. If there's a deep, there's a shallow. There's everything has what I call, polar. They're polar opposites there.
Huh.
So you understand which way the polar, I don't know, I was going to say the way the polars be polar. It's my head talking, but which ways that the polarization is happening, then you can get
Mhm.
into that flow. You can understand that, and see that the seasons, you can go along with the seasons and know when to do what, when, and how, and where. So yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
I say that as embodying, truly living and being in the light. And I
mm,
love the acronym for light that I was given by a mentor many, many, many years ago, a couple decades,
okay.
I would say,
Yes.
about light. And it's living in God's highest truth.
Oh yeah. Oh
Living
yeah.
in God's highest truth. That's what I'm hearing
Mhm.
in these steps, Benita.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd love to
Yeah.
hear, what's next? What's
Yeah, absolutely. And so what the patterns give way to is platform. And
platform?
this is really, really good, because when you think about platform, not in the sense of how the world describes platform, because platform for the world is all about the fame and the notoriety and, being seen and all those things. That's one side of it. But really, when we're talking about platform, it's about impact. It's about understanding that all the patterns and the changes in life and the things that we're going through and the ebbs and flows and the rhythms and things are all designed to bring us into a greater awareness of our impact. What are we here to really truly do and make an impact, and how do we do that? And so that's your platform.
Mm.
That is your
That's the
platform.
I that we're here to pass
Yeah,
on, our
exactly.
platform.
That
Yes,
is the
love it.
platform. That's what you're here to bring and what you have to give and share with the world. And
Mm.
so that becomes your platform. How the divine is expressed in and through you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
How the divine wants to be seen in and through you and to help other people. That is the impact that we're talking about. And so you think about it, they talk about there are no little eyes and or big eyes and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
impact, when I think about impact, I think of a big eye.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I think
yeah.
about, and I'm not saying a big I in terms of myself, but a big
I's
I in terms
impact.
of impact.
Hmm.
Exactly. I'm the
Hmm.
little I, but that little I is making a big impact, in the world. And
Yes.
so when you think about it like that, it keeps you, oh my goodness, in gratitude.
Oh.
It keeps you in humility. It
Hmm.
keeps you in, you know what I'm saying? It keeps you
Hmm.
in peace and in joy and all the
Yeah.
things, those higher energy level. It keeps you in that higher energy consciousness, if you will, because you realize that it's not about me. It's
Hmm.
not about me. It's really about the impact that I'm making on the world and others, that I'm called to touch. So
It's
that's your
it's it's
platform.
being in the seas too, right? To being in
Yeah.
the seas as in curiosity,
Yes.
courage,
Hmm.
compassion,
Hmm.
connection. Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Conscious evolution, conscious leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, here's what I like to say because I truly believe that the courage of your conviction
Mm, yeah.
is a part of that.
Mm,
And the more that you buy into, like, this is really why I'm here. Like, this is my contribution, the seed, if you will. When you buy into that, oh my goodness, that you're it's like you're unstoppable
oh,
because you
yeah.
know you get that, you get the courage and conviction, like nobody can tell you otherwise. Like, you really know that inner knowing, like, no, I know what I'm here and I know why I'm here and I know who I'm here for, and that's just, it's the greatest thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it
Yeah.
makes me think too, because you say you like to focus on faith-driven leaders,
Yeah.
faith-driven leaders.
Yeah.
And the acronym for faith for me is finding
Mhm.
answers in the heart.
Mm,
And that really
mhm.
speaks to the inner knowing, I think, that
Yes,
you're
it
you're
does.
referring to. Is that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 You think about it, yeah, because it may not be everything that you can see with your natural eye right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
but unshakably, that, what you're here to do and the impact you're called to make and that kind of thing, it resonates with you so deeply, and so, and it's too big for you. It's like, it's really, really vast. And so what you have to do is you have to kind of like, just kind of step into it and just allow that process to grow and take place and take shape. And so, we haven't even really seen all there is to know about ourselves and see all there is to ourselves. We're just learning and growing and progressing as we go along. So yeah,
That's
takes faith to do
self-discovery.
that. Yeah, it takes faith to
Yeah.
do that.
Yay.
Takes faith to do that. And
Mm,
so after you think about, so after the platform is laid, then you're able to pour out. You're able to pour out. And this was a tough lesson for me because, we're ready to pour out in the beginning.
oh yeah. It's like, let's
We
go.
start out ready to pour
Idea
out,
comes and
right?
we're
Yeah,
already
yeah.
on with it,
We're
operating with
ready to
it.
just go. We're always on go mode. And we just want to pour out, pour out, pour out, especially
Yeah.
for those of us that are, really, really compassionate. We have, we're compassionate towards others and things. We can sensitize. We're very sensitivity to other people and things like that.
Mm,
So
hmm.
we're ready to always pour out, to always be able to give, 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 and
Yes.
pour out. But pour out is positioned in the divine overflow sequence for a reason, because you're not able to pour out what you don't have already stored up. If
Ah,
you don't have it in you, then you can't pour it out of you, you know?
right.
And so a lot of us pour out from depletion,
Mm-hmm.
pour out from overexertion, we pour out from overwhelm, from exhaustion, and
Mm.
we're not really pouring out. What we're doing is we're running empty on fumes, right? We're completely depleted or whatever. And so poured out is really going back to being able to receive and mastering, hear this, master receiving. Ooh,
Oh.
mastery. It's like
Mm-hmm.
receiving mastery. That's what poured out is about. It's about receiving mastery so that you're so full that your cup runneth over,
Mm.
that you actually overflow. There's a restorative overflow we're
There we
talking about,
go.
that you're
Mm-hmm.
actually able to overflow. Because when you think about overflow, you're not thinking about something that is contained. You're not thinking about something that it has capacity. You're thinking about something that's over, above, and beyond
Mm.
capacity, right? So you
Okay.
think about that, it's a constant, it's a consistent, continual. And this was the lesson I had to learn, because I'm a big giver, just like you're a big giver. But we cannot just give in and of ourselves. We have to draw from the source that is so much bigger than us, so that
Yes.
what happens is we don't become containers. And I talk about this, where it's
Mm.
not for us to contain overflow, it's for us to be a conduit of overflow.
Mm. Powerful words.
And when you think about conduit, Jennifer,
Mm.
different from container. Container has capacity. Conduits don't. Conduits
Mm.
have two open ends.
Ah.
Containers have one open end, and then they have a end, a bottom, right? And they have one, the top that's open. But when you think about a conduit has two open ends for a
Mm.
reason, because what flows in flows through and out continually, continually. And so, in order for us to continually be able to be poured out, we have to look at ourselves and become conduits of the flow. And the only way you could do that is to stay connected to the source.
Yeah, and not burn the candles at both ends, because yes, there's
Exactly.
those two
You,
things. We're
you
going
will
back to
not,
that,
you
but
will not be able to sustain. And the
no.
word is sustainability, right? So
Yeah.
you have to shift and think about it from, you know, oh, not that I've reached my capacity, but that I'm over and above. I'm always in flow.
Yeah.
Hear that. I'm always in flow.
Mm.
God wants us to always be in flow. We
Hmm.
should never run out. We should never, when we're in alignment and we're completely, totally in alignment and totally surrendered, that flow is continuum. It will not run out. It will continue to flow. And so we just have to steward it well. We have to understand how to steward well what we've been given, and to make sure that we stay available and we stay open at both ends to receive. And what goes in us doesn't stay in us, it goes out of us and pours out into other people. So poured out is very, very, very powerful part of the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. And is
yeah,
there more?
yeah. And so the last step is actually the first step, and that is praise.
Huh.
Because praise is a continual. You think about praise, you're praising when you're up, when you're down, when you're rich, when you're poor, when you're high, when you're low, when you're not enough, when you have more enough, and when you're not enough. Like, praise is a continual. So praise is an energy. It's an energy. And that is the energy of overflow. The energy
Hmm.
of overflow is praise. And so you're going to praise throughout. And, we're not talking about just, praise in the sense of, oh, good job. And they pat you on the back at work, right? Give you that little, reward, that
Well,
little,
thanks. Yeah.
yeah, certificate of achievement or whatever the case.
Good job.
No,
Yeah.
this
No.
is an internal, this is a soul, soul reaching kind of praise. It's kind of praise
Hmm.
that, that takes you beyond just the external factors of praise. It's an inner energy.
Hmm.
It's an inner energy that you continually carry and you continually have, because what we know about energy is that it always is, right?
Hmm.
It always is. It never runs out. It never leaves. It always is. It just is. And so when you think about praise in that way, it just is. It's an energy flow that we have the ability, as long as we stay connected to source, to always have and always tap into. And so we praise no matter what the situation, the conditions, circumstances, whatever it is. When you have that internal praise, my goodness, it changes the atmosphere, shifts things.
Yeah.
So yeah, because energy is what? Energy is transformation, energy is exchanging. And so you think about, you praise, and then there's one scripture that says, when praises go up, blessings come down. Why? Because that's the energy exchange of praise,
Ah.
right? That's
Uh-huh.
the energy
Uh-huh.
exchange, right? And so we
Mm-hmm.
think about that, and we're talking about transformative. Restorative overflow is transformative. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we are talking about transformation and being transformation, what we give off to other people is what we receive back, and how that exchange happens. When you
Mm-hmm.
give off praise, you receive overflow, joy, abundance, peace, prosperity, all the things, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the energy exchange of praise. Does that make sense? You
I
understand what I'm
love
saying?
that. I mean, it makes sense. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
P's here.
Yeah, it is. All of them are peace. They
Peace,
are.
yeah. And
All of them are
purpose.
peace. Isn't
Purpose
that
is a part
something?
of that too, right?
Exactly. Purpose,
Being,
peace. Yeah,
living
passion,
purpose and
prosperity.
passion and prosperity. And yeah.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
divine
I'm curious to the
sequence.
audience, what piece stood
Hey.
out most for you today? Yeah. But moving from that pressure, the performance
Yeah.
into the higher level piece,
There we go. There we
platform
go.
and patterns and praise and purpose. And
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
stewardship. So,
That's
these steps,
sustainability.
Benita,
That's
is the
sustainability.
stewardship.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
sustainability. Okay. The
Yes.
stewardship is the sustainability. That's where we get
Yes.
there from.
Yes.
Beautiful. And keeping that flow in flow. And I
Yeah.
love that we're creating impact from a place of rest and that flow and the abundance and
Hmm.
recognizing when we relaxed versus when we collapse.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So that to me speaks volumes to moving
Yes.
from that
Yes.
exhaustion into expansion. We want to
Yes.
be able to relax, not through collapse, but through
Exactly. Absolutely.
actual full rest, knowing
Rest.
in that divine overflow, knowing
Hmm.
in being in that restorative overflow.
Yeah.
So grateful that you shared all of this with us, Benita. This has been so amazing. And I
Thank
encourage you
you.
all to maybe go back and listen to those again, take some notes
Yeah.
and see where you're at or what needs tending to for you. We'd really love to hear that. We do appreciate all of your comments. Maybe even want to share this with someone who's going through some kind of burnout right now because they could probably use this sort of
Yeah.
insight, these reminders that take us back home into our inner knowing and recreate that divine connection to whatever higher power feels most comforting and supportive for you. And Nita, it's been such a pleasure having your presence, another P, on the
There we
show.
go. Thank
I'm
you.
just curious if there's anything else that you want to share, anything that really stands out for you that you think would be most useful for people to really hear right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I will say, I got onto this journey, and I heard one thing, and God told me to rest. He told me to
Mm,
rest. And so what I know and what I've learned is that if you want the overflow, and that's what we're talking about, to get into this place of overflow, you must be able to rest.
mm,
And rest is really about surrendering that, there is a will and a way that's high above yours and far above yours. And understanding that there is a greater source that you don't have to drain and deplete yourself from. You can always draw from that source. It's always available, always there. And when you understand that, then you can relinquish control,
mm.
and you can just accept or receive what I call receive everything that is for you, everything that's for you. But it begins with resting,
Yeah.
trusting, and knowing that you're not in it alone. You don't have to do it by yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Surrendering to the overflow.
Yeah.
I know that might be a little scary for people. They may be resisting that, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could really let go and
Hmm.
surrender. And
Hmm.
maybe they need a little human help before they can really surrender to that divine help, Benita. And so Of course, we're going to have all of Benita's information. There's so much more about her that you're going to want to hear. So check the video description below and the ways to connect with her. But Benita,
Right.
what if people do want to connect with you? They love what you're hearing. You got this book out. Like how can people get that? How they can connect with you? And what can they
Absolutely.
expect if they do reach out?
Absolutely. So, yeah, just like me, I was looking, I was searching for a guide, someone that could lead me, someone could show me the way.
Mm,
And so when I realized that, I wasn't really connecting, I wanted to start being that for other people. And so when they work with me, when you come to me, talk to me, you're going to get, someone that's been there and done that, someone that can really speak authentically from where I literally was to where I am today. And
yeah.
so, yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing more about that with the audience. And then how they can connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I think you'll have my link for LinkedIn
Yeah, for sure.
and my website as well is benitawilliams.com. There's a lot of information there as well. A link to my books and things like that. So yeah, I'm available. So and I'm here.
Awesome. Perfect. So easy to get that one-stop shop from the website,
Yep.
benitawilliams.com. We're going to have
Yeah,
that link so you can easily just click into that in the video description below and
perfect.
connect on LinkedIn if you're a part of that community as well. Wow, Benita, amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much for all that
you.
you shared here. Thank you for joining
Thank
us on the
you.
show
Thank you.
today.
It is my pleasure, Jennifer. Again, thank you for opening up your platform
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
for me to speak to your listening audience. And I really appreciated my time today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate every single one of you that have been tuning in to Awaken and Ascend. Appreciate your time as well and your presence and being here and share your words. We want to see and hear you as well. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Bye for now.